Alright, it's Console Crapshoot, where we spin a wheel to play a random video game on original hardware. Carl has been giving us an excellent mix of games and game systems lately. He's really been on top of his game, no pun intended. The Sega Dreamcast. Excellent. Always happy to see the Dreamcast. It's definitely a favorite of mine. We have, 255 games on the Dreamcast wheel. Sega Bass Fishing. Oh, Dreamcast, you're ridiculous. So I guess what I should have done right when I spun this game on the wheel, I should have immediately hit eBay and picked up an official Sega Dreamcast fishing controller. They made that, and it would be much more fun than playing with one of these regular Dreamcast controllers. But psych, I did fucking do that. It just arrived in the mail, so let's go fishing, buttholes. So I've never actually played this game on the Dreamcast. I have played it in the arcade. Originally, it was an arcade game. I think it was called Get Bass. And then, years later, they actually ported it to the Xbox 360 and the PS3, but the most effective one was probably the Wii because it had the motion controls and you could recreate the fishing controller. I can already tell before I even play the game, I'm just watching these videos in the beginning, and the fishing controller is the way to play this. It has basic motion controls built in, and it obviously mimics the experience of using a fishing rod, but you can see from these little tutorials that each kind of bait is different and you have to use them differently and shake the controller certain ways and in order to attract fish with that kind of bait. One of them you're supposed to slowly reel it in, another one you're supposed to make it jump and then reel it in and then stop. There's a lot of technique to this, and you wouldn't be able to have much fun doing all that with the regular controller. We'll start with arcade mode. Luckily we don't have to spend any quarters to continue, but it's pretty straightforward. There's a timer. You want the highest total weight caught, so you're going for the biggest fish on the stage. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, this is actually already pretty awesome. This is legit fun. It's not overly hard to play, but it's balanced well so that it is really hard to master it, which I did not do. I certainly got better at this as I went, but I did not come anywhere close to mastering all the techniques involved. But despite that, with that said, I could not put this game down. I actually was gonna play it for an hour and then go to bed, and before I knew it, 3 hours went by. I was late for work the next day. You just get addicted to trying to get the biggest fish in the area. And again, going back to the controller, this fishing controller was more advanced than I expected. When I bought the thing, I figured that it would just be the reel that was the main draw. You're spinning the reel, and that would be like a stand-in for spinning the analog stick on the controller. But it was more than just that. Like, there's actually some basic motion controls on it. You cast your line by physically casting your line. When you're reeling in a heavy fish, it tells you to move your rod left, move your rod right, put it down to give it some slack. The line can break if you don't give it that slack. You gotta wait for the tension to go down so that it doesn't break, and then you start reeling it in when the tension is down. So much more interactive than I expected. I honestly expected the regular Dreamcast controller in a different shell, but that's not what this was, and it was a welcome surprise. I caught this monster. This is the biggest one I got the entire session. This is the last level of the arcade mode. Was pretty proud of this guy. Then I felt like I was pretty ready to take on the career mode. This has less of an arcade setup to it. It's more of like a tournament. Varying conditions, lots of people in the tournament that you're competing against to see who can get the most weight. This is where I think you really benefit from getting good at the different kinds of bait and techniques. I just kind of found one or two that worked for me pretty good, and then I just stuck with those. This was a heartbreaker. I thought I had this big guy. He would have won me the round, and right as he was about to eat it, this little bastard jumped in there. And yeah, I couldn't get some of these big guys to bite. Again, I probably needed to use different bait, perfect the techniques. So yeah, I didn't do too great my first time out, but now that I've played this, I can see how I have room to improve, and I can see the replayability in this game, which I didn't really foresee being there. So alright, let's cut to the verdict on Sega Bass Fishing for the Sega Dreamcast. I recommend this. This was pretty fun. It's got that Sega arcade game simplicity, but there's also a lot more under the hood here to keep you engaged. The gameplay is super addicting. I definitely wouldn't have liked it as much without the fishing controller, but the fishing controller is what it was designed for. This is how it was meant to be played. So I'm really glad I got it. This is a solid 4 out of 5. This is a great game. It's so stupid. I love the goofy Swedish sounding announcer guy.
Hey, average sides. Good job. You got a special lure.
I love that the concept is so weird, but really, it just comes down to the fact that I had a ton of fun playing it. And at the end of the day, I mean, that's all that matters. They're games, they're experiences. It should first and foremost be fun. This had that in spades. Loved it. Very nice surprise, but I really recommend the controller. You need the controller. There are a lot of third-party options, by the way, that might be cheaper. You don't have to get the official one, but I figured it would be good for the episode. All right, that's it for this week. Another awesome entry in the big picture of types of games that we've gotten on this wheel. Stuff like this makes me really love doing this. Hope you guys liked it too, and I will see you next week.
Thank you for playing. Game over.